Two men are said to have spied for China in Great Britain, one of them even as a research assistant in Westminster. At the G20 summit, Rishi Sunak expressed great concern to his counterpart Li Qiang, although he's not the counterpart. But British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has complained to his Chinese counterpart Li Qiang about interference from the People's Republic in his country. Sunak told journalists on the sidelines of the G20 summit in New Delhi that he had expressed his great concern about any interference in their parliamentary democracy, which is of course unacceptable. It had previously become known that two suspected spies who were said to have worked for the People's Republic had been arrested. According to the Sunday Times, one of the suspects is said to have worked as a scientist for the British Parliament. According to the newspaper, the research assistant was a Brit who had lived and worked in China. He is said to have influenced British China policy for years. According to London police, the two men were arrested in March under the Official Secrets Act and initially released on bail. They are due in court in October on espionage charges. Former Tory party leader Ian Duncan Smith, known for his critical stance towards China, told Times Radio that the country was deeply infiltrated by the Chinese. He called for security checks in Parliament to be tightened and the government's China policy to be reconsidered. And according to newspapers, the research assistant, as I said, was a Brit who lived and worked in China. And he had a very good basis for this influence. And the suspect protested his innocence in a letter from his lawyers. But he said, "I've spent my career educating others about the challenges and threats posed by the Chinese Communist Party." Well, he still was arrested in March. But China has rejected the British allegations about the possible espionage case in the UK Parliament. The accusation that China is carrying out espionage activities against Great Britain would be baseless, and China rejects it. That's what Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning said in Beijing on Monday. "We call on Britain to stop spreading false information, political manipulation, and malicious slander against China," she said. Well, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Chinese Prime Minister Li Qiang met last week in New Delhi in India on the sidelines of the G20 summit, as I said. And according to Downing Street, Sunak really mentioned that topic there in clear words. But Beijing confirmed the meeting on Monday as well. And the two obviously exchanged their views there. But they said, "We hope that Britain will end the political hype, uphold the spirit of mutual respect and equal treatment, and promote the development of China-UK relations in a constructive manner." That was said by Mao Ning as well. And Sunak's Conservative government has sought to thaw relations with China. For example, it cooperates in the fight against climate change, but maintains criticism on issues such as human rights. "I think it was the right to use the opportunity to get involved and address concerns specifically rather than just shouting from the sidelines," is what Sunak said. The suspected spies from Russia and China are repeatedly uncovered in Western countries. In Great Britain, the two men are said to have influenced decisions for China in Parliament. And that's why it's good that Sunak said it. I recently talked about the Russian spies that were caught by the help of the British here in Germany, for example. And so that's where you see that cooperation in security and defense is so important nowadays. And I hope that there will be another Brexit U-turn in the near future. But the people, by the way, were from Oxfordshire, just not to forget that point. But we will see how the trials will end in October. They have to stand trial in October, as I said, and if they are found guilty or not. So we have the principle of you're innocent until the court finds you guilty. But if there's so much out in the news and the police is talking so much about it, I think Yeah, it will not be so good for the China-UK relationship because it's complex anyway. As I said, there are areas of close cooperation, as in trade and investment, but there are also areas of disagreement, such as human rights and security. And in recent years, the relationship has become increasingly strained due to a number of factors. There was China's increasing assertiveness in the South China Sea, and of course its crackdown on the dissidents in Hong Kong. And the UK's decision to ban Chinese telecoms company Huawei from its 5G network was another. And the UK's sanctions on Chinese officials accused of human rights abuses in Xinjiang was added to this. But despite these challenges, the UK and China have a number of reasons to cooperate. Both countries are major economies and have a shared interest in promoting global peace and prosperity. They also have a long history of cultural and educational exchanges, although the peace in China is not going beyond Russia, unfortunately. But the UK government has said that it wants to build a golden era of relations with China, but it's clear that it will be a challenging task. The two countries will need to find ways to manage their differences and find areas of common ground. But there are some key areas of cooperation between China and the UK still, despite all this discussions about the human rights, because China is the UK's fourth largest trading partner, and the UK is China's sixth largest trading partner. The two countries have a strong economic relationship with billions of pounds of trade each year. And China is a major player in the global technology market, and the UK is a leading center for innovation. The two countries are indeed working together on a number of technology projects, such as artificial intelligence and quantum computing. And China is the world's biggest emitter of greenhouse gases, and the UK is committed to reducing its emissions. The two countries are still working together to address climate change, and they have pledged to cooperate on research and development of clean energy technologies, even if there were some changes in UK politics recently. China and the UK are both members of the United Nations Security Council, and they cooperate on a number of security issues such as counterterrorism and nuclear non-proliferation, even if China is not cooperating on the Russian war of aggression. And the UK and China also have a number of areas of disagreement. The UK has criticized China's human rights record, particularly its treatments of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang, and China has rejected these criticisms, and the two countries have clashed over this issue on a number of occasions. And the UK has expressed concerns about China's military expansion in the South China Sea. China has said that its activities in the South China Sea are peaceful, but the UK has joined the US and other countries in calling for China to respect international law. And as I earlier said, the UK has banned Chinese telecoms company Huawei from its 5G network, citing security concerns. China has said that this is a discriminatory move, and the two countries have clashed over this issue. The UK and China are two of the number of world's most important countries, and their relationship is likely to be a key factor in shaping the global order in the years to come. It's important for the two countries to find ways to manage their differences and to cooperate on issues of mutual interest. But as long as China is not willing to cooperate on certain issues, that will be a very difficult one. And today I talked a lot, of course, about the UK's relationship to China, but that is very similar to that of other major economic powers and their relationship to China. And if you want to know more about UK politics, Brexit, or the EU, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.